Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Accuracy in America. I'm your host, Don Irvine, joined by my co-host, Brian McNichol.
Hello, deplorables, dregs, despicables, chumps, Neanderthals, semi-fascists, maggots, weirdos, and of course those dog-faced pony soldiers.
Well, maybe we've graduated from semi-fascist to fascist.
Well, I think we have. At least our candidate has.
I don't know. That word is being tossed around. I mean, Trump
Yeah,
has referred to Harris, the communist, the fascist, the Marxist, and everything like this. But they're now the whole Harris campaign, the Biden administration is like they've gone full bore on this.
yeah. They're calling him a fascist. He was asked last night on TV. Yes, I do. I do think he's a fascist. It's like, okay, whatever.
Well, I mean, when I see the thing with Karine Jean-Pierre, and then I
Right.
see Harris and things like this, and I'm like, okay, do they even know remotely what a fascist is, or are they picking
Right.
up on General Kelly, kind of a thing like that? They're thinking that this is
Right.
an opportunity for them to leverage something that a former Trump guy said to them,
Right.
and just like they think that they can make this. I don't know that this is going to really do them any good. I don't think it moves the needle.
Right. There's a lot of people starting to talk about how they've gone all in on the Trumpist. Instead of this is what a great president Kamala Harris could be. Their entire campaign is on how terrible Trump is. Right. So when Trump says, Trump's platform is pretty straightforward and everybody kind of knows it, but he does have a plan for the future. And he also has a bunch of people standing with him who are pretty smart, right? So it's kind of hard to explain why these are dumb maggots who get duped, right? And that's how they vote for Trump. And yet you have Musk and Bill Ackman and Sachs and all these people, long term leftist leaning people changing their minds and voting for Trump. Like, if he's such an ogre, if he's such an idiot, like, why are these really smart people voting for him? Why have they thrown in their lot with him, giving him money, supporting him all over the place and whatnot? So they don't really have an answer for that. So it's more to just say, he's a fascist. He says things that sound kind of fascist. So that's their closing argument, and they have Liz Cheney there saying, "Yes, indeed, he is a fascist. The dishonor to your name will grow forever," and all the crap that she says. Right? That's their closing argument. Like, if I'm an American and I want grocery prices to go down and gas to go down and the economy to return to a healthy state, I don't know. Like, I don't really think I care about that. All
Yeah,
right. I'm also trying to imagine, and here's a question kind of for you. What would have to, because they're supposedly, Mark Halperin and others are saying he has a story that if he gets enough data to say the story by the time of the election, it will take Trump out. It will mean Trump will lose. He will have no chance. Okay. But they can't produce the story, right? And I think it's for the same reason that no one but the Atlantic gives voice to what John Kelly is saying, because everybody on the other side is saying that John Kelly is lying, right? So they're getting desperate and they're doing these things, and like they're getting to the point where the pollsters can't hold their nose and with these pro Harris polls any longer. You're starting to see them all. They all kind of look like Trump +2 now in some form or other, and the other people can't either. It's kind of, the game is kind of locked. So I'm trying to imagine, like, what would have to come out in this story Mark Halperin's talking about that would change votes, that would change enough votes to change the trajectory of the election.
yeah. I mean,
Groping women ain't going to get you there. They tried that one, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, she's lying." He's a Nazi. That's not going to get you there. They tried that one. That doesn't move the needle. It's just not there.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming down to the nitty gritty part of the campaign, the election, but there's there's not much that's going to move much at this point anyway. I mean,
Right.
they're going to be out. Both sides are going to be out there campaigning just in case, hoping to make their case and things like that. What you say about these kind of liberal lefties that have thrown their lot in with Trump, it's interesting to me because where some of this is based on the culture war and some of the things that have gone on and the anti-Semitism and whatnot, but it's kind of like that Trump has broken through what kind of a different kind of blue wall. Tech
Yeah.
Tech titans have been a blue wall in a lot of ways. They're not all financiers, Wall Street investment bankers have been liberal, but there are plenty of big money guys that have been, and their shift to Trump has been astonishing on that, probably surprising the heck out of their longtime friends that they were
Right.
doing this. And when you have a guy like Musk, doing what he's doing out there, I wonder sometimes if other these other billionaires are thinking like,
Yeah.
well, maybe the risk is not as great as we thought it was. We can
Right.
go ahead and support
Right.
a guy like this, right?
It takes a guy who, like Musk, you really can't hurt Musk, right? I mean, he's got to know whatever you try to do, he can recover from. I mean, he's sitting there with $270 billion, right? You really can't do a lot of damage to him. So, he can do whatever he wants. So the rest of the people who have some constraints, right? Some of these big program investors and so forth, they're the nature of the business that they're in and that they're doing and the way they're doing it. There are some constraints sometimes on what you can say and do and where you can be politically. And, Musk has given those people a permission structure, right? Musk is free from those constraints, so he can really say what he thinks. So those people can see that, the rest of America is seeing that, hey, a lot of these guys, if you knew what they were really thinking, they were thinking Trump. And I think that, if you look at this, at the choice here, it's kind of hard for anybody that knows what they're doing to not be for it or to be for Harris. I could see they don't like Trump, whatever, but it's kind of hard to be for her if you have any knowledge of how economics works.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's some that won't vote for the president at all, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of them that would have normally voted for the Democrat nominee will not do so this time. Which means it's either going to vote for Trump or just not vote at all, and that's still a win for Trump to get those names off the Harris board,
Right.
and all. It'll be interesting to see how much of a shift that winds up being. I mean, these guys are smart, and they look around and they say, from the economy standpoint, it would be, we would love to go back, to closer to the days of what happened under Trump. Now, Trump isn't going to be able to wave a magic wand and get rid of inflation. The prices have risen on a lot of products. They're not going to go back down to those levels for a while. Gasoline, you can kind of, it's supply and demand, but you can do things to make sure you've got enough drilling going on there and have enough supply so that you don't have these crunches and things like that shoot prices up, and that you're managing things well, and you're not being the flip flopper like Harris is, of she was for, she wasn't for, she is for it. Nobody really, that's part of the problem for the voters, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they still don't really understand who Kamala Harris is, at all.
Yeah. Will she frack or won't she frack? You don't even know. You don't know, right? And so that's a big thing. The other thing is, like, people don't even talk about, the leverage that goes with energy politics, right? Like, for instance, when Trump was in office, the price of energy was so low that Putin could not make any money off of it, and Putin was going broke, right? So they got in, and the first thing they did was impose scarcity, like cancel Keystone, start cutting back on natural gas, fighting fracking and so forth. So then, you don't even have to have real scarcity, right? You only have to have pretend scarcity. And if they were drilling all this oil like they say they've been, more oil than ever before, then why did we have to draw the Strategic Petroleum Reserve down to about 6% of its normal size, right? I mean, that's another thing Trump has to do is buy a bunch of oil for the strategic reserve again, right? He's got to go fix that problem, sew that back up. So, and he also is going to make it where that's less relevant by making America energy independent again. And the other thing is, the Biden administration stopped selling liquefied natural gas, right? They barred America from shipping LNG to Europe. Okay. Europe was prepared to rely on that for its fuel in the winter, which goes back to, not having Putin running the energy sector for, most of the nations of Europe, right? That'd be you'd be dependent on us supplying your fuel, not Europe, right? And not Russia, which I think is a much more stable, better thing, and also lets you bring prices down and so forth. You're moving a lot of volume and so forth. So, and all of our friends can get in on that. Saudis can get in on it. The other people around the world who drill for oil, who are our allies, can get in on it. So, a lot of stuff is ready to be unleashed as soon as we get somebody in charge who makes policy on a sensible level.
Right. The other thing too is that the reports that I'm seeing, show they're estimating that 25 million votes, through, I guess, early voting and mail-in voting have been cast already. And, we had what last time around 160 million plus or whatever it was votes last time around. So, if it stays in that range, that means about 15% or thereabouts of the ballots have already been cast. And
Right.
we still have a list just under 2 weeks to go. There'll be more votes cast before then. So every day is a diminishing return in terms of who are you going to convince. People are filling out their ballots. They're voting either in person by early voting or they're mailing it in. They've made up their mind, and we just have this very small subsection, of people who really aren't sure about who they want to vote for, if they want to vote for anybody at all. And so it's a fight for those. But as you were alluding to on these polls, with going more Trump's way. So I was looking at Real Clear Politics, and when they kind of just roll through the polls, Wall Street Journal national poll, Trump 49-46, CNBC national poll, Trump 48-46. TIP. I don't know what's TIP. Do you know what TIP is?
TIP
TIPP?
is it's public partnership is what the PP stands for, or
Okay.
polling partnership. So it's a bunch of colleges that go in on it.
Okay, so they have Harris at 50-47. Franklin and Marshall for Pennsylvania has Trump up 50-49. Emerson in Pennsylvania has Trump up 49-48. Emerson's got Trump up 49-48 in Wisconsin. North Carolina, Emerson, Trump 50-48. Marist, Trump up in North Carolina 50-48. Arizona, Marist, Trump 50-49. Georgia, Marist has got him tied. The Hill, Emerson, that's South Dakota, but that's going to be a wipeout there anyway. Georgia, Bloomberg has Trump up 50-48, and Bloomberg has Trump up 50-49 in North Carolina. I mean,
the key to that is the number of times, and as you rolled through that you said the word 50, right?
Yeah.
Once you're to 50, the whatever absentee ballots or whatever they pull out from, the back room like they did last time, it's not enough, right? Another thing that's happening here is the last time there was a lot of early ballots ordered. There were a lot of people not voting at the polls, right? In numbers never seen in an American election before. Okay, for COVID and whatever reasons. Okay, so you had to order, most places you had to order, request a ballot, right? So the ballot requests, are lining up with the totals now, right? So if there's just not enough requests out there. Last time there was this big ocean of people who had requested early ballots, right? This year we're even with them or slightly ahead or not as far behind as we were last time, almost everywhere in the nation, right? So, and the reason for that is they did not ask for it as many, and we got more into early voting, people on our side. Also, 25% of the people who have voted in Republican areas, most of the places you can't say that they voted for Trump. All you know is, someone from a Republican area requested a ballot, right? But 25% of Trump's voters have never voted before. Okay, so they're not. The fear of some is that Republicans are cannibalizing their vote, right? We're all voting early, and on election day there will be no big avalanche of votes to add, right? It'll be the Democrats will win election day. Well, that's not if 25% of your voters are new, they're catching up in early voting using new voters, right? And so their election day wall of votes is still intact.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's right, and it's encouraging to see that we've actually kind of caught up. We're doing much better on the early voting side than we have before. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, we really won't know until election day in terms of whether or not that pulled forward the votes on election day. But there are a lot of Republicans who they only want to vote on election day. That is their thing. They are committed diehard to doing that, and I think that they are not as likely to go and vote, early or vote by mail. So I think a lot of them are still going to be there on election day. But as I read down that list, the thing that's when I look at it, I think I'm seeing a lot more, Trump ahead. Now everything's within the margin of error, more or less. But if I read that list a month ago, there was a lot more Harris edge. Now it's a lot more Trump edge. So there has been a shift, in terms of
There's
that.
been a shift, and there's also a lot more interest in getting the polling right now, because these are the polls you're going to, down the line next year and so forth. And we say, which pollers were most accurate in 2024? The polls you're doing now, not the ones you did a month ago or 2 months ago, are the ones you're going to be judged on, right? So you can see them all trying to come home to, Trump plus 1 or 2, because that's where they think it's going to land.
Yeah, pollsters, I think, after the recent debacles on how wrong they've gotten elections, I think they're genuinely afraid of getting this wrong again. They don't want to get they don't want to have this losing streak continue in terms of, we can't figure out how to poll people in this day and age, because we've now got cell phones and all these other things. I think everything is more electronically, it's more ubiquitous. It has presented some challenges for the pollsters, and they've had, they're sometimes their long-term track records, which had been pretty good, has been thrown, just been thrown right off course. And the last thing pollsters want, because their reputation and their business is built on, can you build an accurate model for polls? Otherwise, you're not going to get business down the line again. And you've got all these mouths to feed, you've got all this data, you've got everything, you've got invested in it. So you've got to get it right. And I think they're scared that they're going to get it wrong again. And I think they are going to work extra hard at trying to figure this out. Though I guess even Nate Silver said something about, he says, trust your gut.
Right. Nate Silver says all the things he's seen, he's just trusting his gut. He thinks it's Trump.
Yeah.
So just taking the lay of the land. That's where that came from. Just taking the lay of the land. He just thinks that it's trending toward Trump.
Yeah. And I think you see that it really almost doesn't matter what Trump says or does at this point, or what Harris says or does to a large degree, in terms of picking up extra votes. But they do need to be out there stumping anyway, just to make sure that they know that that their support, their base, we care about you as a base, and please make sure you continue to come out and vote, and get out the vote, and get your friends to vote, that and get them get them out there and get this job done, and everything. So this is going to be, we're like I said, we're getting right down to the nitty gritty. I mean, when we when we reconvene next Wednesday, we're going to be really down to it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to give predictions next Wednesday.
Yeah, and then one thing I like about doing this show normally on Wednesday, we had to switch Thursday because of my schedule, but it's that Wednesday morning, we will be there post election with
Yeah.
with an idea of we'll probably know who who the president is. We may not know who controls Congress, because California is always a problem. They their vote counting process is horrible, and it has they haven't really cleaned that up, and it has taken weeks for them sometimes to count their votes, for the congressional races. So that may muck up Congress a little bit for a while. But
Yeah,
over
and because one of the things that's happening is at the same time, like general polling is moving toward Trump, battleground states appear to be moving toward Trump. Monolithic blue states appear, to me at least, to be moving away, to becoming more pro-Democrat than they already were. For instance, Maryland, I think Hogan is 15 behind now or whatever. And that, but basically what you've seen, 53 to 38 or something like that. And she's, Harris is over 60% in Maryland. Appears to be getting some steam in California too. I saw, I guess Larry Sabato moved 4 California House races from toss up to leans D, right? Moved them away from Trump. So, sometimes Larry does things out of spite, but, they appear to be, he gives you some pretty good reasons. So I don't know. So, but there's some evidence that the momentum is in the Democrat areas is moving toward her, which, has implications for the popular vote, but not the EV, right? Electoral vote.
right.
But the other thing people need to understand is even equals about 312 electoral votes for Trump. Popular votes even, Trump wins the electoral college pretty easily, right? So when they say, oh, is it even or +1 or -1, she doesn't get a pretty good chance to win until it's +3. +2, she has about a 12% chance. If she wins the popular vote by 2%, she has about a 12% chance winning the presidency. If she wins it by 3, she has about a 70% chance. So, and I mean, no one has Harris +3 at this point, right? No one really even has a +2 anymore. So it doesn't look good for her, and you can see them, like you're flailing or talking about they're dredging up, beauty queens from 30 years ago and John Kelly, bitterness tour, and she's touring around with Liz Cheney to talk about how unfit Trump is. And the thing about it is like, if I was voting for Harris, right, that may have the effect of strengthening my decision to vote for Harris, right? But if I'm on the fence, having Liz Cheney say the same stuff Harris is saying about Trump does not move me, right? I already knew what Liz Cheney thought about Trump, right? I think she's going to have to, go down in history as someone who betrayed her party and betrayed her people and got blown out of her congressional seat by an unknown person with Coke bottle glasses, right? Because she insisted on treason, was political treason. So, you want to talk about dishonor? Wow, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the problem with a lot of these people who had worked for Trump and whatnot. It's just that they're bitter about many things about
Yeah.
their time with Trump, and so they think this is they can unleash and they can bring him down, but
Yeah, she could end up in trouble too, by the way. There's a little known story. I was looking to see if it's on your list, but there's evidence has emerged in recent days that she was contacting Cassidy Hutchinson, going around Cassidy Hutchinson's lawyer to plant testimony against Trump in the J6 hearings. So if that's true, I mean, that's a disbarment for the attorneys involved, could be prison for her.
we shall we'll see what happens with all this.
And I don't know how much Trump talks about all this. Actually, it's not really Trump. It's like the people around Trump talk about all the restitution they're going to take. They're going to get even with this guy and that guy, lawyer up, and all this stuff. Trump is not. He doesn't spend a lot of time on revenge. Like, it would have been better if he'd spent a little more last time. He kind of moves on to his projects, right? Once he wins the race, it's like, okay, I said all that stuff to get elected. Now it's time to do the stuff, right? Um, but I think he will find time to go after Liz Cheney. I think that one will occur.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, one of the things about, when they talk about the whole fascist remark is that, these liberals are like, well, he's basically going to run roughshod over the Constitution and do whatever he can and get retribution on all these people. It's like,
Isn't that what you're doing? Put his
he's
enemies in jail. Isn't that what you're doing?
yeah, but I mean, but you still have limited ability to do that.
Right.
You can't just take office and become like a dictator right away.
Right. And he's
You know,
not going to try to be a dictator. He's
yeah,
not going to do it. He tried, he was president before. The
yeah.
whole thing is, and I think people look at, and you look at stuff like the McDonald's, right? You're like, okay, that guy's not a dictator. That guy's asking people how they make fries, how a fryer works, right? How do you put them in the bag that fast, right? And they're showing Trump the devices and the process. And Trump has a long history of going deep into devices and deep into process. Like, how exactly did we get where we are? Like, there's a thing out there now that says one of the reasons that Kelly and Milley and Esper and these military guys are so mad at Trump is because he started, when he took office, he didn't like the situation in Afghanistan either, right? And so he asked them for, we need a plan. We need to fix this. We need to get out of there. We need to do what we need to do. All the plans came back, and he's like, none of this really works. So he convened a council of uniformed soldiers, so people on the ground over there, the grunts who actually did the work. And they started talking about the various problems and challenges and what their deal was. And it was from there that Trump assembled his plan to go out. So, Trump bypassed the flag officers and went to the regular people and got a better solution. And I think that's a theme for a lot of what's about to happen after he takes office in 2025.
Yeah, so we'll have to kind of see how this all really develops. But yeah, I mean, Trump is, I mean, just he is a unique, person in terms of how he does things and how he's going to act. And uh, yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know. He's thrown so many things out there at us on this campaign, for which I expect very little of this to actually take place. I mean, he's really kind of thrown the kitchen sink in a lot of ways in terms of I'm promising you this, I'm promising you that. In the end, very little of that, if he gets elected, probably will really take place in the end, because he has to still find his way through Congress and the Senate to get a lot of that done, and all of that. But I think he finds that it's a way to kind of take away some of the Democrat issues, appeal to a broader base, and then maybe when he gets elected, he just brings it back home, back to where the core was, and says, "This is what we're going to do," and maybe they'll try to get some of these other programs passed, but probably will not spend a lot of political capital doing that either, because it's not if you're not going to win that battle in Congress and whatnot, there's a limited amount of capital you want to spend on even dealing with that.
Right. And he's got some big plans, like the thing of, RFK talks about the food, right? He wants to remake how we eat. Okay. If you're really going to do that's a pretty ambitious thing, right? And you're going to get that through Congress. You're going to have, and you're going to have to get some appointees in place to make it happen, right? That's going to take a heavy lift. So I think Trump will save his heavy lifts for stuff that really matters.
Yeah. You've probably seen this because you're always all over the internet. I mean, the image, where we have Trump, after he got shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, somebody threw a McDonald's bag in there now, like that. But
Fight.
yeah, you got that. But then, then this, McDonald's is in the news because of this E. coli outbreak, that's occurred in the West. And I heard something that some people, I guess, are trying to tie that to Trump working in the McDonald's. He worked on a fry station. Okay. It's like,
Right.
do you
And it was
understand
closed and it was staged. Remember, y'all said it was closed and it was staged. And it wasn't really a McDonald's and all this stuff. So now it's fouled up the distribution system in California.
People who make that argument about stage, I mean, it's like, look, how many times in history, when we have presidential candidates, you've got Secret Service, but there's protocol because of the security you have. You know, they plan these things. They have to vet these
Yeah.
things. You know,
Yeah,
it's
no one expects Trump to be dropped into a actual cooking line at an open functioning McDonald's, right?
he
No
didn't, he
one
didn't
expects that.
he didn't just stop at that McDonald's. Okay, just
Yeah, I'm rolling in. Hey, can I do
he didn't
fries
just
for
say,
a
hey,
little bit? I mean, come on,
everybody,
man.
stop here. I'm getting out. I'm going to go work the fry station over there. It's like, no, that didn't happen. You know, so it's like, so like, please,
Yeah, and campaigns are an endless succession of stunts. Oh, it
right.
was a stunt. Heck yeah, they do stunts every day. Do you think when they go, to the construction site and put the hard hat on, do you think they actually weld something together? No, they do not. They walk around and they point, and the other guy points, and they get their shot and they leave, right? Hey, I worked today. I went to the workplace and saw how people work. Okay. And really, to be fair to them, they do gather a lot of information in that, right? The candidates, Harris too, when she does it, right? You say, oh, well, they're not actually, performing the task of a line worker. Okay, they're not, but they know a heck of a lot more about what line workers do now than before they went in, right? So, you give credit for them going and trying to seek this information.
Yeah, I mean, and some campaign stunts work better than others. I mean, Michael
Yeah, that's
Dukakis
the
in the
point.
tank did not work very well.
What did not? Excuse me. What,
Michael Dukakis in his tank.
right. That was the worst. One of the worst of all time.
Yeah, that was
Right.
yeah.
But this one did. This one really did work. And one of the
Yeah,
reasons you can tell is like the left is absolutely outraged by it.
right.
Right. They have come up with every mean thing they can to say about it. And it's like, it was a campaign stunt. That's what they do. Right. But
Yeah,
it's hard to call a guy a cruel dictator, Nazi, fascist who wants to ruin everything in the country and show his power and whatnot. And the dude's in there working a fry station. Right. Those are not congruous. Those don't add up.
Was it the first George Bush that went into a grocery store and they showed him a scanner or something like that?
Yeah, he didn't know what that was, and
Yeah,
he didn't know what things cost, and so but he walked out knowing what a
right,
scanner was, right?
right,
Oh,
right.
okay, wow, okay,
Yeah,
which
yeah. I mean, yeah, not yeah. I mean, he got information. What probably wasn't the best thing because it's like you could say like, how do you not know that? Well, he's not the guy that's doing a lot of his own shopping, I guess, or
right,
whatever. And, you
that's
know,
right.
so he got poked a little bit for that, but still, Dukakis is the champ by far.
Yeah,
I think on all of that. Um, I do want to step back into Russia, Ukraine, just because of that news report that says that North Korea is sending troops.
that's
Now,
right.
they think there's at least what 3,000, 3,600, could be up to 12,000. How desperate is Vladimir Putin that he's gone over and asked North Korea to send him troops, or is this something that probably was just going to happen sooner or later anyway as he starts running through all his people?
Well, I think he has a manpower problem, and they have a huge standing army with nobody to fight. So it's probably a good deal for both. I mean, they really spend a lot of money on a military that doesn't really have anyone to fight. Right? They're sort of making up enemies. That's sort of what they do. And so they can get out, they get some training, they get some doctrine, they get to work on their stuff. And you're bolstering you'll have a favor to call in at some point. Although there's a weirdness with it too. North Korea also went to the border with Russia and cut all the railroad tracks and all the ways to get in and out of Russia and North Korea. Cut down all the transportation. So you can do it now, but it's a lot more difficult than it was. So, but
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
you're trying to figure out why those people do what they do. That's a good luck with that one, man.
yeah, I mean they are in the same sphere, but I kind of wonder how many people Kim Jong Un is going to sacrifice for this for Russia, because it's a slog. It's not. It doesn't. Neither
Right.
they're just kind of they're battling back and forth, and they're killing a lot of people each way, and so North Korea will probably sustain some fairly heavy casualties along the way. unless they put them in a,
Well,
unless they
well, here's the
forward it.
thing. Maybe not all that many because there's not all that many casualties being inflicted now, right? They're sort of just retreating into trenches. And, unlike the Russians, the North Koreans are trained fighting force, right? Most of the Russians there now, they got 3 or 4 days of training in a train ticket.
Yeah, I mean I mean it just, but you keep it, you put them in a safe area, and it looks like we've got all this great support and bolstering our side, and see what where that leads to. And I guess South Korea has said that they're going to be sending weapons to Ukraine to help maybe counteract that a little bit. So that it's kind of that, as we go the tit for tat a little bit, that South Korea
Right.
decides, well, North Korea is going to cooperate with Russia. We're going to cooperate with Ukraine even more, and we're going to give them some more help that way. So I don't know that Russia really winds up getting anything really net on that at all. I don't know what's going on. I mean, in Israel, I guess we're just kind of seeing the back and forth and everything like that. But still lots of calls out there for ceasefire, peace, agreement and everything like this. Harris, and Biden, they're kind of caught in this area where it's like you're not helping, you're not showing any strong support for Israel. Another problem for them, come election day, it may already be costing them now in the early
Yeah,
voting.
like
I
it
don't
is in
know.
Michigan.
Yeah.
It's like it's
So I
hurt
think,
some in Michigan. The Arabs have kind of moved over to Trump over this, right?
yeah,
And
I mean,
he's certainly not been pro-Arab, right? But I think the reason for that is that they see Trump as somebody who will try to end it, right? It won't just keep going on forever. And I think that whether you like how it actually sketches out or not, I think people realize that like the thing should be toward ending it, right? Especially, I mean, the Arabs, because they're not going to win. Gaza is not going to, and the thing about it is like they're not really responsible for this anyway. Hamas and Hezbollah are not, they're Iranian funded, right? They're not Arab funded. So, I don't think they really care. I think it's fine.
okay. One of the things too that came up, and I didn't put it on the list, I kind of forgot about it, but I thought about it just before we started, was this apparent short list for the Department of Justice that Trump has. Definitely the liberals went kind of, just they lost it over that too, because apparently Judge Eileen Cannon is on the short list for the Attorney General for this. So that has them all in a lather and all. But it's just
I
it's a list.
think that list was written by a Democrat. It has no basis in fact. There's no chance that they are considering Eileen Cannon to be Attorney General. Why? Why would you do that?
Well, I mean, and the case is not even, the case still has a long way to go, right? I mean,
Well, she's dismissed the case, so he's got to
yeah,
win an appeal just to get the case to come back. And that's probably, he probably realizes that after a week from Tuesday, it'll be moot either way. But I mean, she should go be a judge, right? I guess there's some people down there trying to kill her too. There was a story this week. They've uncovered an assassination plot against her. So, I don't see her as being the Attorney General. I think that was just something they came up with. The Democrats came up with.
yeah, I mean, if I were her, I would just stay where you are. I think that's a much overall longer term, job security. You've got this judgeship, and you're good to go. Uh, working in a Trump DOJ could be a little chaotic.
Yeah, you're going to be busy, right? They
Yeah,
got a lot of stuff they want to do.
yeah, and I think you'd come under fire from all things. And I don't know that I don't know that Eileen Cannon just would want to go through that. They're not a lot of people who want to take the fire from all sides like that. There's some people who've really got the metal for it, but I don't necessarily
Well,
think that
you need a certain amount of stature
yeah.
to do that job. A federal district court judge, even she's a big case landed in her lap,
Yeah.
and she's I guess the other side would say she's been unfair on Trump's behalf in their handling of that case. I don't think she has, but they think she has. It'd be hard to get her confirmed, and I just don't see like you're gonna use that position on somebody with more gravitas. I just think.
Yeah.
I think my pick for that. I would like to see the rest of the list because they obviously put her name on it to incite the kind of discussion we're having right now. But my guess is it's probably Eric Schmidt, senator from Missouri.
Okay, that'd be interesting. So, yeah, I mean, and it's all speculation at this point because we don't know who the next president will be for sure. And then once they really get to election night, once they know what the final tally is and who won, then all the lists and everything that they've been kind of preparing and sending around and doing things will start to be pulled together. And there's a transition team, and it takes a little bit of time and find the right.
And there is a complication this time too, because if you think about it, what Project 2025 actually is a screening applicants, right, for transition. That's really what Project 2025. What the Democrats are complaining for is the book that goes with it called Mandate for Leadership, which Heritage produces for every administration, right? Even Democrat administrations. And what it is just a long compendium of policy proposal. Like, their ag guy writes something about how to handle crop subsidies, right? And their climate guy writes about weather, and their, defense people, they have a missile defense guy and a conventional defense guy and a, Navy, does the Navy have the ships it needs guy, right? And they all write their prescriptions. And that book, that's a huge book. It's like a phone book size book most of the time. And, the job clearing aspect of it, they're kind of in trouble on because if they take people who went through that process, then those are Project 2025 people. They will be, that'll be a problem for them in confirmation and so forth. So, the normal way of doing this, the normal way of vetting people for the administration, here's 22 guys for the top jobs at Commerce. We've vetted all these guys. They're all good conservatives. We don't think they have any bad stuff in their background that's going to hurt them. That process has kind of been thrown up in the air a little bit because of the Project 2025 controversy.
I was thinking, as you were talking, I was thinking, like, is our generation one of the last of those that can actually say phone book and where people understand what the heck that is?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my kids don't know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, there's my kids might know what it is. We never, I don't know that they've really even thought about it. They probably do, but I mean, there's no way my grandkids have any clue as to what that would be. It's like they've just grown up in such a different world now and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell how old you are when you start throwing out those things that we have just seen very little of. When was the last phone book produced? 10, 15 years
for that matter, like I have two kids. They have cell phones. I don't know either one of their cell phone numbers. Right. I know my wife's, right, because it goes back a long, long time. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't need to know it. On my phone, it says Marty. I hit Marty, I get Marty, right? So I don't need to know what Marty's phone number is.
You're right though about that part of it. It's just that at the beginning when when I got the phones for my kids and as they got the numbers assigned, I knew what all their numbers were. And then we had some switcheroos in the family. When my daughter got married and all these kinds of things, and she kept her number. And then I think my youngest son got a different number, and then turned his number over to my son-in-law. So now I'm like, okay, whose number is what there? But yeah, it's basically now it's what's ever in our phone. It's like,
right.
I don't remember. I don't have to remember. Sometimes, if somebody asks me, what's your wife's phone number? I'm like, okay, let me think about it. Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
she's
then
had it
it's even down
forever.
to like one
She's
of the
had it
things that
forever,
me and
but
Lori,
it still makes me think a little bit just because it's like, I
yeah,
just press a button.
that's right. It's
Right.
like me and Lori joke about, uh, her phone, it says like husband.
Yeah.
My phone says Lori.
Yeah.
So I want to call her. I have to find Lori. She has husband, son, daughter. Is who you are.
You know what that sounds like though? If you
Mm,
ever watch like any of like these K dramas type of thing like that, when they use their phones on there, they name people like that. It's like husband or their nickname,
yeah,
angry boss, whatever,
yeah,
and that's how it is. It's not the actual name of the person, it is some nickname or some other term that they use, and that's how, how it pops up and everything like that. And I thought, should I just take my wife and turn her to wife? She might object to that.
yeah. And it's sort of, you talk about objectifying.
Wife number one.
Yeah, that's right. My first wife.
So yeah, I mean, hey, think about it. Think about if you've been divorced a few times. It's like you could do that. Wife number one, wife number two.
Yeah, that's right.
That would just, I don't know. That would just be kind of crazy to me overall. Actually, that actually made, so I don't know if you saw this. I got this. I saw this through Colin Rugg's Twitter tweet the other day,
Yeah,
or X post about Kamala Harris's ad towards dating and black women, black men, uh, and it was just so funny because here once again, here's the Harris campaign. I think last week didn't we talk about? I think the Harris campaign had cut an ad that was basically, pandering towards the pro-Palestinian people, voters. It's like, she was kind of going all in on being, pro-Palestine. This one was was a Harris ad, but it was, black, black woman, a black man, and the black woman says, "So are you going to vote?" And the guy goes, "No," and the woman gets up and walks away from the table, and they repeat that several times, and this whole thing is like, okay, so is this part of the Obama Harris scold of black men? If you don't get out and vote for Harris, you're not going to get a date. You're a bad person, et
yeah,
cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this is just, I don't know. I just thought this was just ridiculous. We see a lot of ridiculous ads around over our time, but I don't know. I don't understand this.
yeah. I think at the when this is all said and done, the people who ran her campaign are going to have some pretty serious questions to answer. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, and do you think, I mean, when you're cutting these ads for these, you're kind of going through this identity politics. I'm going to segment this group and I'm going to do an ad strictly at them. In this day and age, everybody will be able to see it because it's going to be somewhere. If they don't put it up on YouTube, somebody will still find it somewhere, and then send it out like this guy Colin Brook, and then everybody else gets a chance to see it, and you're like, what are they exactly thinking about? Do they think they're actually going to get more black men to vote, and that convince them that if they don't go out and vote, and particularly with the whole subliminal message being in there's like, if you don't vote for Harris, you're not going to get a date. That's a winning strategy.
Yeah,
As you said, some people who are running this part of the campaign, I don't understand what they're doing and what they're thinking at all.
I don't either.
And is and and the candidates always have to say, I'm Kamala Harris and I approved this ad. It's like, well, you know, I guess I could
I'm Kamala Harris, and this one slipped by.
yeah. but then again, you think like, well, Kamala Harris is kind of clueless, so yeah, why not?
Yeah,
All right. So what about the CNN town hall last night? I mean, Dana Bash said she didn't seal the deal. I mean,
I think she did seal the
Anderson Cooper
deal
asked her
for
some
Trump.
questions. Yeah, Anderson Cooper tried to, get her to answer some questions, yeah, but once again, it was kind of this whole circular word salad. I don't, what
Yeah,
I don't understand what she was doing. I don't know that she
yeah.
understood what she was
She
doing.
had an opportunity there, and she called Trump a Nazi. She said, I'm here and he's not, after she chickened out of debates and stuff for months. And then, she said that, she was going to do price fixing on groceries. She's going to determine what every grocery should cost and make sure that you don't charge any more than that. Right. I mean, it's an industry with like 2.3% profit margin or whatever. It's not a lot of price gouging, right? But she's now set up government as you have to determine the proper price for every item in the grocery store, right? Because how will you know if there's price gouging if you don't know the price of the item to begin with? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and that's a nonsensical, that's a non-starter of a solution to grocery prices. It's like someone needs to say, but you can't really do that. And I think they, CNN kind of got close to that last night. There was some pushback on that because I think they realized, if they're going to sell this product, they're going to need more to sell it with.
Yeah, I mean, they've been I think some of the media have been trying to stand up to her a little bit more because she's just not giving answers. It's like, once again, you've been in office for the last 3.5 plus years. Why are you
Right.
talking about this? I mean, what about immigration? I mean, are you in support of the wall or not? And
Well, I've changed. I'm now more some other way. Right. It's literally kind of her answer. Right.
Yeah.
It's, it's not like that anymore. It's like, I don't know. I can't really trust that. Now, I probably was going to vote for it in any case, but you're not giving people like, here's my plan for the border that will help the border, right? All you said is Trump sabotaged the bill, right? That's not going to, people don't understand, And the other question is, but I don't understand why Trump hasn't raised this. But if a private citizen could go to the Senate and get it to not push through bills, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's not gouging, but a private citizen can go and get these things done, right? Get the Senate to say, okay, we're not going to approve a bill because private citizen Donald Trump told us not to. Then why would you vote for the person who was in office and lost the persuasion battle to a private citizen? Why would you vote for that person? Because they're obviously not going to have much influence over the Senate, right? A private citizen had more influence than they did. So, how does that work? Where do we get on? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little tricky. I mean, going back to this, talk about, what Charlton said here about the price gouging, what you were talking about the extremely thin profit margin in the grocery industry. What the Harris, what Biden and Harris haven't addressed really is just that either is another problem that is exploded. I mean, it's probably we probably have seen more bankruptcies, I believe now, and you have to kind of take COVID out of this formula because COVID was such, it decimated a lot of businesses. But if you take COVID out, I think we've had the most business bankruptcies we've had in decades.
You're right.
And part of that process are the costs, the
Or bank
inflation.
failures too.
Yeah, right. The inflationary costs that have been in there of not just the supplies of things like restaurants. I look at the news and I just see like, Denny's is closing another 50 restaurants. There
Right.
are, there's some chain out in California that went bankrupt and has been gobbled up by someone else who's going to slim it down. Red Lobster, also failed and has been gobbled up and is being slimmed down and is going to have a different thing. But, I think you go out to eat and I go out to eat, and we've seen the dramatic effect on food prices when you go out,
Right.
whether or not it's anything from McDonald's and Wendy's to things that are just up the chain. As you go up the chain, it's like the costs of food is just incredibly high, and restaurants are not immune to that, right? I mean,
Right.
they have to deal with that's those ingredient costs for that, but they've also been pushed by all that. Kamala Harris wants to keep going with increasing pay for labor. Well, restaurants don't have a whole lot of profit margin either, and you keep pushing up the cost of of their ingredients as well as the labor, which is a huge part of their equation, they're going to be squeezed. They're going to have a hard time staying in business, and they will eventually fail. And restaurants are, if they're looking around, they're saying like these particular locations are no longer profitable anymore, and so
Right.
we're going to cut them out. And that
I would say
that
this
one.
about that though. Yeah, there's a lot of restaurants are in trouble, and a lot of it has to do with price of food and the state of the economy right now. But also, I think the model on which all these chains were built has run its course too. I think that's part of it, right? It's just to be in the restaurant business from 2024 forward is not going to be the same as being in it from 1967 to 2024, right? It just looks different. It's going to look different. It's going to be different. It's going to serve different types of customers. And so a lot of that was going to happen. You can't really blame them totally for it. It was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I mean, some of this was in that sense. I mean, running a restaurant is just a difficult business, but now they have extra headwinds that just, I mean, you kind of wonder, have we reached a saturation point of, how many more of these can we handle?
Right.
Right. And so you have to kind of look at that, and those are business decisions along the way, but those get accelerated when your costs increase rapidly. We
Especially
weren't,
transit costs.
we had a long period of time with low inflation, so it was good for everybody, right? The food prices barely budged, and the restaurants, no one, the prices of what you ate in the restaurant barely budged, and so people went out, lots of business. Price shoots up like it has, fewer people running through your restaurant.
Right.
Eventually that will lead to failure on that.
Yeah.
And it's all part of the economy. It's like, they keep talking about how great the economy is, but there are definite weak points, and that's these stores and restaurants and whatever that are just, they've just hit a wall. They just can't do it anymore. Everything has just kind of hit that point, and like we're thrown in the towel. One last thing here before we go, before I let you wrap it up. So Elon Musk started giving away $1 million a day to people who were attending these rallies he was at. Just the fact that he was having these rallies was just amazing to me to begin with.
Yeah.
I honestly did wonder. I thought, how can, I wasn't quite sure what the legality of it was. I guess the DOJ has chimed in on that and everything. It's kind of a fine line to me, I guess, and because you can't buy votes, you can't pay people to vote, you can't pay people to register. So, but
that's not what he's paying them for.
Right.
He's paying them for signing you go into the hopper to win the award if you sign the petition, and that is absolutely legal and backed up by Supreme Court decisions that you can pay people to sign petitions. It's a First Amendment thing.
So I figured they'll battle it out. In the meantime, Elon will just do Elon things.
Right. He's getting like the Google people are. Google does not care if they get caught violating the law. They'll just pay whatever the fine is and keep moving. They won't even change. Right. They're public about that. And like we'll just take the hits. We couldn't care less. Get mad all you want.
Okay, we're at the end here. Take us out.
Lizzo. Yes, there's been a few ads. You have in here. You mentioned Casey is also Alyssa Slotkin in Michigan running ads saying, "Yeah, and I back Trump's whatever." Right? I was with Trump on fracking. I was with Trump on energy. Right? So she's doing so good. Why her candidate's bailing on her, and also the death of Fernando Valenzuela. I saw Fernando pitch when he was in AA in Shreveport. He wasn't there very long. He pitched against Shreveport one day, and I'll never forget. I walked in the stadium and I looked down there, and the Shreveport Stadium was pretty small, and that was okay because there was only about 300 or 400 people at the game most times, and so you could just watch, right? And I'm watching him do his bullpen before the game and warm up before the game, and you're watching this guy throw, and like the ball made a different sound in the mitt. The hissing, when balls travel, a good pitcher, you can hear the ball traveling from his hand to home plate. And with him, you could it was loud. It was like locust on a summer night. And then the next time I saw him pitch, he was in what do you call it? LA, and it was beautiful. Everybody was there, was happy. R.I.P. Fernando.
All right. I'm going to just cut it short and say, everyone, thanks for joining us today. Goodbye, and we'll see you again next week. Ooh.